People hear luxury RV and assume it automatically means more reliable. In real life, luxury often means more powered features, more sensors, more screens, and more systems that all have to work together while the rig is shaking down the highway. And that's where the myth breaks. The expensive stuff doesn't fail because it's cheap. It fails because it's complex, exposed to weather, and harder to service. In this video, we're talking about the pricey upgrades that tend to give owners problems first. Big slide-outs and seals, auto-leveling, power awnings, touch-screen control systems, motorized shades and furniture, residential fridges, tankless hot water setups, and high-end lithium plus solar power packages. So you know what to watch for before you buy, and what to keep an eye on if you already own one. Number 1. Slide-outs. Large slide-outs are expensive because they're not just a box that moves out and in. They're a moving wall section with flooring, wiring, sometimes plumbing, and a ceiling system that has to stay tight while the RV bounces, flexes, heats up, cools down, and sits in storage. The myth is that more expensive slide-outs should be bulletproof. But what usually fails first isn't the idea of a slide. It's the combination of weight, alignment, and ceiling details that don't tolerate small mistakes. A luxury RV often has more slides, deeper slides, and sometimes a full wall slide. And every step up in size multiplies the stress on the mechanism and the body openings around it. Early failures often look small at first. The slide starts moving a little slower on one side. You hear a new creak or a pop that wasn't there before. Or the slide seals look slightly twisted or pinched at the corners. Sometimes the slide still works, but it starts leaving clues like scuffed vinyl near the edge, trim that begins to separate, or a faint draft you notice only when it's windy. The most expensive slide-related problem isn't usually the motor itself. It's water intrusion from a seal that isn't sitting right, or from a corner gap that only shows up under real rain and real wind. Water doesn't have to pour in to cause damage. A slow, repeatable leak can soak materials, swell wood, soften subflooring, and create smells that are hard to chase down later. Slide toppers add another layer. They're helpful for keeping debris off the roof of the slide, but if the topper roller, fabric tension, or mounting starts getting uneven, it can wrinkle, flap, or drag. And that can stress hardware and seals. There are also different slide mechanisms in the market, and each has its own weak spots. Some designs are rail-driven, some cable-driven, some use multiple motors, and some use hydraulic movement. You don't need to memorize brand names to understand the risk. Any slide system depends on clean power, correct alignment, and low friction movement. If battery voltage is low, motors and controllers can behave oddly. If the RV is twisted on an uneven site, the opening can change shape slightly and make the slide bind. If seals are dirty, dry, torn, or pinched, they stop doing their job, and then everything downstream gets more expensive. When you're evaluating a luxury RV, the best reality check is to watch every slide go out and come back in, slowly, while listening and watching for consistency. The key word is consistent. Consistent speed, consistent sound, and a clean, even finish where the slide ends in the same position each time without shuddering or repeated attempts. After that, look at the seals and corners, because that's where costly problems start. Also pay attention to service access. A slide can be high quality and still be painful to own if the motors, controllers, or adjustment points are buried behind finished walls that require major disassembly just to reach. That service access issue connects directly to the next luxury easy button feature that owners love until it starts throwing errors at the worst time. Number 2, auto leveling. Automatic leveling feels like pure luxury. Press a button, the RV levels itself, stabilizes, and you're done. It's also one of the most common fails first features because it lives under the RV in the dirtiest, wettest, most abrasive environment possible. Road spray, grit, salt, and temperature swings don't care how premium your coach is. Early problems tend to show up as longer cycle times, new noises, or random-looking error messages that only happen on certain campsites. Electric jack systems can slow down as they age or as they collect grime, and they can get picky when battery voltage is marginal. Hydraulic systems are powerful and smooth, but they rely on hoses, fittings, valves, and a pump assembly. A tiny seep at a fitting, a hose that starts rubbing on an edge, or a valve that gets a little sticky can turn a simple leveling cycle into an unreliable one. Another common issue is sensor confusion. The auto-leveling depends on sensors that decide what level means and when to stop. If a sensor reads wrong, the system might keep hunting, stop early, or refuse to complete the process because it thinks something unsafe is happening. A luxury RV can make this feel worse because auto-leveling is often tied into other systems. Slides might be locked out unless leveling is done, or the system might require a certain power state, or it might share a control panel with multiple features. So one weak link can look like multiple failures. The most frustrating auto-leveling breakdown is the one that strands you with jacks down when you need to leave. That's why a smart way to think about this feature is not just, does it level, but what happens if it doesn't? Is there a safe, practical way for a qualified tech to override and retract? Mo, is the pump assembly and manifold accessible, or is it packed into a tight bay behind layers of panels? When owners get burned early, it's often because a luxury setup was designed for a clean showroom environment, not for real travel and real service visits. Keeping power stable is also huge here, because many leveling failures are actually voltage problems in disguise. Batteries that test fine at rest can sag under load, and leveling systems draw real current. If you want one simple reliability lens for auto leveling, it's this. It's not just a mechanical system, it's a mechanical system that's also electrical and sensor driven, living under the RV. That same harsh outside environment is also where the next premium feature lives, and it's one that can turn into a very expensive headache because wind, sun, and vibration are non-stop. We're at number 3, power awnings. A big power awning with integrated LED lighting and wind sensors looks like a luxury must-have, and it often is until it starts acting unpredictable. Awnings are exposed all the time. UV, heat, rain, dust, and gusts. The arms and motor assembly have to extend smoothly, lock into position, and retract cleanly without twisting. Early failures often show up as uneven movement, clicking or grinding sounds, a fabric edge that rolls slightly off-center, or a control that becomes inconsistent. Sometimes the fabric is fine, but the hardware starts drifting out of alignment. Sometimes the motor is fine, but a sensor or switch is flaky, so the awning stops halfway or refuses to respond. Luxury awnings often add complexity, wind sensors, auto retract features, and integrated lighting. More features can be great, but each add-on is another wiring run, another connector, another small control board living outside. Water can get into a connector. Vibration can loosen a connection. Heat can age plastics and seals. Even the integrated LED strips can become a weak point if they're not sealed well, or if the wiring is routed where it flexes repeatedly. The risk isn't just it breaks, it's it breaks in a way that's hard to secure. A manual awning that's stiff is annoying. A power awning that won't retract can become a travel and safety problem. Wind is the big reality check. Big awnings create big leverage, and even a premium arm system can get stressed quickly by gusts. A luxury RV can give owners a false sense of confidence because everything looks heavy-duty, but wind loads are no joke, and the most expensive awning systems still have real limits. That's not about blame, it's about physics. The most useful habit with power awnings is treating them like a high-value exterior mechanism, not like a permanent roof extension. If conditions look sketchy, it's smarter to stow it than to gamble. And if the awning starts retracting unevenly or hesitating, it's worth getting it checked early, because small misalignment can turn into bent arms, torn fabric, or damaged mounts. Power awnings also sit in the same luxury automation family as powered steps, patio systems, and exterior compartments. But the common thread is the same. Outside mechanisms fail faster than inside decor because they live in the weather. From there, it's a short jump to the luxury feature that fails without even being outside. The one-screen runs everything control approach. Number 4, touchscreen controls. With many high-end RVs use multiplex wiring and central control panels, meaning lights, pumps, tanks, HVAC settings, Awnings, and sometimes even slides, are managed by digital modules and a touchscreen interface. When it works, it feels clean and modern. When it doesn't, it feels like the whole coach is haunted. The reason it fails first in a lot of luxury rigs is that it's a single point of friction for dozens of functions. In older, simpler RVs, if a light doesn't work, you check that one circuit. In a multiplex coach, the light might be fine, but the command signal from a control module isn't getting there, or a network module is offline, or voltage is dipping and the system is acting protective. Early symptoms can be weirdly inconsistent. A feature works from one panel, but not another. Lights lag when you tap them. But a water pump button does nothing, even though the pump itself is okay. Tank readings jump, or the screen freezes and then comes back like nothing happened. One of the most common root causes is boring but real: power quality. Digital systems want stable voltage. If batteries are weak, if connections are loose, or if the RV is switching between shore power, generator, and inverter in a messy way, electronics can glitch. Heat and storage also matter. Touchscreens and modules live behind walls where heat can build up. If a coach sits for long periods in high heat or high humidity, connectors and boards can age faster than people expect. Another issue is that software-like systems age differently than mechanical ones. Firmware updates, discontinued components, and app changes can turn a once smooth setup into something that's harder to support 5 years later. That doesn't mean multiplex is bad. It means luxury electronics should be judged by redundancy and service support. The most owner-friendly designs keep physical backup switches for critical functions and make the modules accessible and labeled. The least owner-friendly designs bury modules behind permanent panels and route wiring in a way that makes tracing and service slow. A luxury control system can be truly premium when it's designed like an RV system first and a smart home system second. If it's designed like a smart home system first, the road will eventually teach it a lesson. Touchscreen control problems also create a ripple effect, because once the control network is flaky, it can make other premium features look broken when they're not. That's especially true for small interior motors that depend on stable power and clean signals. And those are the kind of quiet luxury touches that disappoint owners early because they don't feel worth the cost once they start sticking. Number 5, interior motorized extras. Powered shades, power recliners, bed lifts, TV lifts, drop-down bunks, and similar nice-to-have motorized extras can fail early for a simple reason. They're often built with small motors and plastic gearboxes that don't love vibration, misalignment, and repeated cycling. In a house, a power shade lives in a stable window frame. In an RV, that window frame is flexing, the shade cassette is bouncing, and the track alignment changes slightly as the coach moves. And early signs include shades that start moving slower, stop short, drift out of sync, or make a buzzing sound without moving. Recliners and theater seating can develop switch problems, loose connectors, or motors that strain as the frame shifts slightly over time. TV lifts and bed lifts look especially premium, but they can be picky about alignment and limit switches. If a limit switch reads wrong, the mechanism may stop early or refuse to move because it thinks something is obstructed. The frustration with these features is that they're not travel critical, but they're expensive to fix, and they make a luxury interior feel worn out fast. Another fails first pattern is parts availability. A couch motor or a shade controller might be specific to a supplier, and if that supplier updates the design, the exact replacement can be hard to source. Even when the fix is straightforward, labor can be annoying because these systems are tucked into finished trim and tight spaces. The reliability lesson here is simple. Motorized extras are only as good as their mounting, alignment, and service access. A luxury RV with clean wiring runs, accessible connectors, and solid mounting will do better than one where everything is hidden and squeezed in. If you're evaluating a coach, it's worth cycling every powered shade and every lift, not just the big headline features. And if you already own one, it's worth treating small changes as early warnings. Fixing a shade that's drifting early is usually cheaper than waiting until it binds and damages its own mechanism. The next feature category looks residential, but its failures usually come from RV power realities, not from the appliance being low quality. Number 6. Residential refrigerators. Residential refrigerators are a status feature in luxury RVs because they look and feel like a home kitchen with better space and better everyday convenience. The catch is that they rely on stable household-style power, and RV power is a mix of shore power, generator power, and inverter power from batteries. That switching is where early problems show up. Sometimes the fridge itself is fine, but it gets hit with voltage drops, brief interruptions, or inverter quirks that cause control boards to act up. Owners often notice this as temperature swings after travel days, random error codes, or a fridge that behaves perfectly when plugged in, but feels unreliable when running on battery/inverter. The failure point isn't always the fridge. It can be the inverter/charger settings, battery condition, transfer switching behavior, or wiring connections that don't handle high demand cleanly. Ventilation also matters more than people think. A fridge in a house has open airflow around it. In an RV, it can be boxed into cabinetry with tight clearances. If airflow is restricted, heat builds up, and electronics and compressors don't love heat. The other risk with residential kitchens is that they often come bundled with other residential-style appliances: washer/dryer combos, ice makers, dishwashers, built-in coffee machines, and fancy faucets. These can be great, but they add plumbing connections and drain lines in tight spaces. And small leaks in hidden spaces are a classic way luxury rigs get expensive fast. A drip you can't see can quietly damage flooring and cabinetry long before you spot it. That's why residential appliances end up on the fails first list. Not because they're automatically bad, but because they depend on stable power, and they raise the stakes for water leak management. If you're shopping, it's worth asking how the fridge is powered while driving, what battery capacity supports it, and how the system behaves during power transitions. If you own one, it's worth paying attention to any pattern. Does the fridge complain after long drives, after hot days, or after running many loads at once? Patterns point to the power system, not just the appliance. For that naturally leads into the feature that's supposed to feel like home comfort every time you turn on a faucet, but can be surprisingly sensitive in an RV, tankless hot water, and premium plumbing options. Number 7. Tankless hot water. Tankless water heaters and premium plumbing add-ons are expensive because they promise endless hot water and a more house-like experience. In practice, they can fail early or feel unreliable early because they're sensitive to flow rate, water pressure, temperature changes, and water quality. A tankless heater needs a minimum flow to stay on and regulate heat smoothly. If flow dips, the unit can cycle, and that can feel like the water temperature is hunting up and down. In an RV, flow and pressure vary a lot depending on whether you're on a campground spigot, using the onboard pump, or dealing with a park that has inconsistent pressure. Even when nothing is broken, the experience can change from one stop to the next, and that inconsistency gets blamed on the heater. Water quality matters too. Hard water can leave mineral scale inside a heat exchanger over time, reducing efficiency and making temperature stability worse. Another hidden complication is the plumbing extras luxury rigs add around hot water. Mixing valves that blend hot and cold to prevent scalding, recirculation loops meant to bring hot water faster, check valves that control flow direction, and sometimes smart controls that try to keep hot water ready. Each add-on can improve comfort, but each one is another component that can stick, clog, or drift out of adjustment. A small issue in a mixing valve can make the whole system feel wrong, even if the heater is fine. Some luxury rigs also use macerator-style waste systems or pump-assisted plumbing components. Those are convenient when they work, but they add motors and impellers that can jam or wear, and they can be more sensitive to maintenance and correct use than a basic gravity setup. The general pattern is this: premium plumbing increases comfort by increasing complexity, and complexity is what fails first on the road. The safest approach with any hot water or waste system issue is to treat it seriously without guessing, because plumbing and gas systems can involve safety risks. If water temperature is unstable, if a heater is throwing repeated errors, or if you notice moisture where it shouldn't be, a qualified RV tech is the right next step. So the final feature on the fails first list is the one that makes everything else feel modern. Big lithium power, solar, and high output inverters. But it's also the one where small setup mistakes can cause expensive symptoms. Number 8. Lithium and solar power. The premium power package is one of the biggest selling points in modern luxury RVs. Lithium battery banks, large inverters, solar arrays, inverter chargers, battery monitoring screens, energy management systems, and sometimes auto generator start that kicks on when batteries get low. When it's designed as a complete system, it can feel amazing. When it's not, owners deal with shutdowns, confusing alarms, batteries that don't seem to charge fully, or power that behaves differently depending on temperature and load. The fails first reputation usually comes from the layers in the system, because there are a lot of them. Solar panels feed charge controllers. Batteries have a built-in management system that protects them from unsafe conditions. Inverters convert battery power into household power. Transfer switches move the RV between shore power, generator, and inverter. Energy management systems decide what loads are allowed. Each layer can be fine on its own, but the overall experience depends on settings, wiring quality, and clean connections. One of the most common early problems is configuration mismatch. The charger settings don't match the battery chemistry's needs, or the monitoring system isn't calibrated, or the energy management logic is too aggressive, so owners see odd percentages and unexpected shutdown behavior. Temperature is another major factor. Many lithium systems protect themselves by limiting or blocking charging when it's too cold, and by limiting output if components overheat. That's good safety design, but if a buyer wasn't told what the limits look like in real travel, it can feel like a failure the first time the system says no. High current connections are another quiet risk. These systems move a lot of power, and a slightly loose connection can heat up under load. That's why random DIY tinkering around high current electrical gear is a bad idea. The right move is professional inspection if you see repeated alarms, unexplained shutdowns, hot smells, or cables/components that feel unusually warm. Auto generator start adds even more dependency on accurate readings and reliable control signals. If the system reads voltage wrong, the generator might start too late, too early, or not at all. Generators also don't love sitting unused, so a luxury RV that spends long stretches parked can expose problems on the first big trip when the generator is suddenly asked to carry real loads for hours. The reliability reality is that premium power systems are less about one big component failing and more about one small detail causing a chain reaction. A setting, a sensor, a connector, a firmware mismatch, or a temperature condition the system is designed to protect against. The best luxury rigs make this easier with good documentation, labeled wiring, and service-friendly layouts. The worst ones hide critical components behind finished panels and leave owners guessing what's normal. A luxury power package can absolutely be reliable. But it stays reliable when it's treated like a real engineered system, not like a phone battery you can ignore.